It's been years since I played the original Agricola, and to be honest, it wasn't really to my taste. However, All Creatures Big and Small, which takes place in the same world, is a light, engaging, and fun worker placement game, and I'm going to teach you how to play it here today on Legendary Tactics. Now, if you've played the original Agricola, or worker placement games in general, this is going to be a pretty familiar walkthrough. I think there's a place for a light worker placement game in anyone's game collection, and this is, I think, a pretty good candidate. So this is essentially like the original Agricola. We're building a farm, essentially. We're breeding animals, we're fencing them in, we're upgrading buildings and that sort of thing. So we've got our farm here, and you can see as it's circled by that disco lighting, that there are 6 spaces, one of which is our cottage. It's kind of obscured by the gentleman in the beret. But there's another 5 spaces that are used for keeping the animals. Of course, you need to fence them in general to make sure they don't run away. And the winner of this game is the farmer with the highest population and greatest variety of animals and the highest scoring special buildings. So very similar again to worker placement games in general and the original Agricola in particular. And the land is good and well suited to breeding the 4 types of animals, which are sheep, pigs, cows, and horses. And you want to keep them separate, and you got to remember each animal needs enough space. And now normally this is a 2-player game, and the other farmer would normally be competing with you for resources and animals and so forth. But in the tutorial, that's not going to be a problem. But you can click on the opponent's farm to see what they're up to and see how you might block them. One welcome change in this game is there's no mention here of feeding your people, which was always such a frustration and challenge in the original Agricola. So this is more just focused on straightforward worker placement, which I like. So the market square, if you look, you've got 3 workers down here at the bottom, center at the bottom, and you place those workers on the market square, which is where all the actions are. Okay, now there's 16 actions, but and you can click on these actions to see what they do. But I would stress, don't worry about it. It's not as complicated as it appears. Essentially, it's varieties of very similar kind of actions. Either you're getting resources or you're building stuff, essentially. So just what you want to build. And the icons are pretty straightforward once you get them. I was really surprised how quickly I picked it up. I thought it looked very jumbled when I first saw it, but it's not as bad as it first appears. So the first one here is, if you notice, there's the symbol with 1, and then there's the plus wood here. So what that's saying is you get to, if you take this action, you get the starting player marker. Okay, so you get to go first the following turn, and you take whatever wood is in the space. Now, normally there's going to be at least 1, and then every turn that this space is neglected and no one takes this action, you see the plus wood, so it's going to add another wood. So, and this is a common mechanic in worker placement, but the idea is that this space becomes more and more tantalizing as the game progresses if no one takes it. Similarly, this next space here is the same idea, just no starting player token, and you get all the wood from this space and add it to your supply, but it goes up by 3 wood every turn. So right now it's at 3, but if no one takes it next turn, they add another 3 wood, so it becomes 6 wood. So it's going to become pretty much a no-brainer to take after a certain amount of time. Same thing over here with stone. You can take any stone that's in the space. It adds 1 stone unit per turn if no one takes that action. This one is 2 stone. You get 2 stone, and you add 2 stone to add to your you add 2 stone to your supply, but then it also adds 2 stone to the space if it is not taken. So there's definitely an advantage to that space over the previous one here, but that's part of the game, and so you want to grab that space first if you can. Fences, you can add as many borders to your farm as you want, and you can only use borders from your supply. You pay 1 wood for each border. So that's essentially just building fences. This is a variation on fences, which is walls. You can add as many borders to your farm as you wish. Use borders from your supply, and the first 2 borders are free. And then you pay 2 stone for each additional border. So as you can see, stone's at a bit more of a premium, so that may be a little bit more challenging to afford, but it's an alternate option if you need it. Building materials, you just take 1 wood, 1 stone, and 1 reed from the general supply and add them to your supply. Now you'll notice there's no plus symbol here, so these do not accumulate. It's just a straight ahead, you play it and you get 1 of each resource. Over here we have expand, and expand is, if you see this symbol with +3 squares there, you can see you can add 3 squares to your farm, either to the left or the right of the original location of the farm. And you also receive all of the yellow borders on the space, adding them to your supply, but you cannot place the borders using that action. So you can, this accumulates borders as it's neglected. So it becomes more and more interesting and tantalizing as a space as time goes on. This one here is building a stall. Costs 3 stones and 1 reed, and you can add it to any farm space without a constructed building. So a feeding trough doesn't count as a constructed building, and that scores you 1 victory point. We'll touch on stalls a little bit later. The feeding trough builds, you can build 1 feeding trough for free and additional feeding troughs for 3 wood each, and add them to any farm space that doesn't yet have feeding troughs. That basically, feeding troughs increase the capacity of those spaces to keep animals. Then we've got the mill pond, and the mill pond gives you sheep and reeds. Now, if you don't want the sheep, or you can't take the sheep in because you don't have the space, you can let some or all of them run away, which means they're discarded. And so once this space places a reed, it will do that the first turn. Subsequent turns it will place sheep, and those will begin to accumulate, so you get whatever's there. And that's very similar to this one where it's pigs and sheep. So you take all the animals from this space and either keep them on your farm or let some or all of them run away. So this one will place a pig first, and then it will place subsequently sheep, and those will begin to build up. This one here, very important for the end game. This is a stable where you pay either 5 wood or 5 stone, but not a combination of both. And you basically upgrade a stall to become a stables. And you can do that as much as you wish, as long as you can afford it. And stables hold up to 5 animals. And a stall with a feeding trough becomes a stable with a feeding trough. So you get to hang on to the feeding trough. The victory point value of stables is 4, which is pretty big. The next one over, I have to skip that flashing one here just for the sec. Cows and pigs. So again, very similar to sheep and pigs. This places a cow first, and then subsequent turns will place pigs there. And so you're going to want to time that right so you get as much value out of that as possible. And finally, very similarly, horses and sheep. So this, whatever animals have accumulated in the space, you get them. The space places, if it's empty, the space places a horse first, and then subsequently places a sheep after that. So as you can see, the icons are fairly straightforward as far as that goes. And then this one here is all the special buildings. Okay, so these are the buildings where you can upgrade your cottage, build a storage building, and you score points. It gives you some extra bonuses as far as keeping animals sometimes. So there's lots of, you're going to read through these and see which one best fits your strategy as well. And some of them are worth victory points as well. So on the digital app, on the left, you've got all your current resources here, along with spaces occupied by animals, and victory points here down below. So this kind of flying metal thing is your victory points. And I know if you'll notice, it starts at -12. So we'll take a look at this, and this is how it's broken down. So the total score, And so you get 1 point for every animal and additional points per species and number. So for example, if you have less than 4 of any animal species, you lose 3 points. So that's important to recognize. You need to have at least 4 of each animal species, otherwise you're going to take a big victory point hit. Special buildings may kick in some additional points, and there's even some expansion. Every fully filled expansions give you 3 extra points. So we can just continue to the next tutorial. So the idea, again, you want to build many different areas to have as many possible different animals and the biggest population as possible. So as far as the digital version here is, as far as it goes, you just drag the worker to the space and then click on a check mark to confirm. So we're gonna just drag this lady here to go get some wood and click on the wooden check mark here. And once that action is taken, it can't be taken again during the round, during that same round. So that's where you and your opponent are going to be fighting over spaces and actions and resources. And so we're going to now drag this person here over to build some fences, and it automatically flips us over to the farm. And we can transfer fences from storage as long as we have enough resources. So we're going to drag 3 fences next to the cottage and build a pasture. Okay, so we're going to drag from here, and you'll notice how it highlights, so you can choose exactly where you want to place that. And so now we've got, we click on the check mark, and now we've got a fence. The screen changed really quickly, but you'll see in a sec. And so we're going to use our last action to get ourselves a pig here. And it's been brought to the farm. Now, the animals are distributed automatically, but they're not necessarily distributed optimally. So there's a mechanic to just rearrange the animals as you see fit. Okay, and over here you can see that little space, that little paddock that we built has room for 2 pigs. There's only 1 in there now, so it's 1 out of 2. And as soon as the workers have all been placed, the breeding phase begins. And normally we would have animals that breed, but you need at least 2 animals of the same species for that. And down here you can see the start player marker, which defines who may place the first worker, and you can obviously steal that marker with that space there at the top left. And then so beginning of the next turn, there's the refill phase. So every resource space gets its resource. You can see all the spaces highlighted get additional resources or animals or what have you. And the breeding spaces gain a second animal if the first resource already exists. So we're going to buy another pig. All right, and we'll get a cow out of it as well. So we got 2 pigs and 1 cow. All right, so we've got enough space, but let's make some more room. All right, so we've maxed out our pigs and we've got room for our cow. Your cottage has capacity for 1 animal, so you can keep 1 pet. And so, all right, so we're going to make some more room. We're going to buy a feeding trough, and this is what I mentioned earlier. The feeding trough doubles the amounts of animals a building or pasture can support. So you can even put a feeding trough in an unfenced pasture to keep at least 1 animal there. So that's an important point. Large pastures may have 1 feeding trough per pasture space. So you can see we're going to drag and drop here. So I'm just going to hold this for a second so you can see how we fenced in that little paddock. We've got 2 pigs there, 1 cow at the cottage. I'm going to build a feeding trough here, and you can see it just you can glimpse it before the screen changes. But anyway, that doubles if you look at the top left here, you'll see we've doubled the capacity of our pigs here. So we can have up to 4 pigs there. Okay, we'll need some more resources at this stage, so we're going to choose the 2 stone space. Now you'll see there's actually 4 stone there because I didn't take that action last turn, so that's a pretty sweet space there to get 4 stone. Now the breeding phase follows, and we gain one animal if we have at least 2 of the species. And so because we have 2 pigs, we get an extra pig. And so that gets added to that same paddock. So we got 3 out of 4 now. So, and the pig is basically automatically placed from there. And then we're going to build a stall and upgrade it to a stable, but we need reeds in order to do that. So we're just going to take the building materials space, just get 1 of each. Remember, that one doesn't accumulate. You get 1 of each resource. And now we have enough resources to build a stall. And we can keep up to 3 animals of the same species in a stall. And there's a limited number of stalls in each game. So once those are all placed, then it will become unavailable. So now we have the 3 stone and 1 reed to buy a stall. All right. And all buildings are surrounded by 4 fences. So you can use this to your advantage when building fenced pastures. So we're going to put it in here. And so we automatically get the fences as part of that. So now we only need 3 more fences and you'll have an additional big pasture, which is great. You can build fences out of stone or wood. If you choose the wall space, you even get the first 2 fences for free. So we're going to do that. And this is the one I had explained earlier. You get 2 fences for free. And with the remaining 2 stones, we can buy a third. So we're going to connect this to our pasture here, and by spending 2 stone we can fill in those 3 spots and we get a nice big pasture. And the breeding phase starts now, so we have just added another pig to our population, and now we're looking to get some additional species here. So this reed space has been slowly accumulating sheep, so we'll get a reed and some sheep out of it. And now we've got 3 different animals. So space is running out, so time to expand. And if you remember from before that space over here, we're going to go right here and we're going to expand our farm. And you now get the additional fences that are placed with the wood or stone, and 1 column with 3 additional pastures to enlarge your farmstead. So we're going to just drag and drop here, and you can see we're going to actually add these 3. From a gameplay perspective, you can't really see that much of a difference, but it is slight, and I'm sure with repeated plays you'll notice it much more clearly. So now we don't have enough space left for animals to breed in the breeding phase, so we better buy an additional feeding trough and place it on the stall, and that'll help out a lot. So we're going to buy the feeding trough here, and remember we get 1 for free, and we can buy additional ones, but we're going to place this here. Now we've got plenty of space in the middle fields there for extra pigs, but we're going to double the capacity of the field for sheep. And so now we get an additional pig and an additional sheep, and you can see how they're automatically placed here. So all right, and so stalls, cottages, and stables can be upgraded depending on the special building, and you can always turn a stall into a stable. And stables offer space for up to 5 animals and give you that additional points, which is so valuable. So we're going to get some wood. And we're going to also take the extra wood provided here. Now you can see it's slowly built up to 5 wood over the course of the game here, the little tutorial. So that is a lot of wood. We got 18 wood now. So now we're going to place the last worker in the stable space to upgrade some stalls. Now we can upgrade as many as we like. We only happen to have 1 available, so we'll just drag and drop here and click on the check mark. And now we've expanded our capacity even further. So you can see there's going to be, it's all about optimization. Like a lot of worker placement games, it's all about optimizing your play, making sure that you are more efficient than your opponent. And so we get some additional sheep and pigs. And so every game provides 4 base building. And if you bought 1 or more game expansions, 4 random ones are added to that set. And in ranked games, the buildings will always be the same, but they may change from time to time to keep things interesting. And I think this is basically the last mechanic we need to worry about, is just learning how to move animals around. So we're going to click on our farm here, and we can drag the sheep from the stall to our workers. And it's kind of a weird way of doing this, but I see why they had to do what they had to do. All right, now we're going to drag the pigs to the workers as well. All right, now we can drag the pigs or the sheep back into one of the free fields, and unplaced animals will run away after every turn. So in other words, we can reallocate these animals if we want to. So I'm not sure if there's something that the game wants me to do here exactly, but basically you drag these animals around and you can move them from field to field and make sure that they're always optimized. So and that's basically how to play. It's a very straightforward worker placement game, as I said, and I think it's a lot of fun and doesn't have that same relentless I found the original Agricola to be very relentless and challenging, but somewhat depressing for some reason, just trying to feed my family and all that stuff. So this is much lighter, and I think it's potentially, if you like that theme and that type of worker placement, I think you'll really enjoy it. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that gave you some value, and look forward to seeing you here next time on Legendary Tactics.